Hi everyone. I don't read much travel writing, but last year I picked up this book by someone I really hope you've heard of. I'd heard of him for a while, but hadn't read anything by him up until last year, as I said. And to date, this is actually the only thing I think I've read by him. His name is Ryszard Kapuscinski, or Kapuscinski, another Pole whose name I'm probably butchering. I apologize. I think this was his last book. It's called Travels with Herodotus by Ryszard Kapuscinski. Kapuscinski was actually born in Pinsk, which is in modern-day Belarus, in 1932, and he died in 2007. And he's a travel writer that's really known for his literary style, his really fluid, sort of narrative-driven. It's not all about going to the place and telling about the events and being sort of. It's not travel writing as you usually think of travel writing. It's much more literary and novelistic, and that's what drove me to this. It made it sound really interesting, and I've also always, of course, loved the histories of Herodotus, so the title got me going too. Travels with Herodotus is really gives a wonderful taste of Kapuscinski's travel writing as a whole. Those familiar with some of his earlier books, and I hope you are, Another Day of Life, The Emperor, and The Shadow of the Sun, will detect his distinctive literary voice here. He even talks about visiting some of the same places in this book as he has in other books, including China, India, and North Africa. As the title hints at, Herodotus is a kind of trope that Kapuscinski liberally interlards throughout the book. He's a source of meditative inspiration on the philosophy of history, the place of humans in relationship to the gods, and occasional thoughts on subjects as various and sundry as ethnography, which of course Herodotus talks very much about, the customs of local people, and the birth of the historian's wanderlust, and where that wanderlust comes from. Also, bits of Herodotus are spread throughout the book. He often uses Herodotus to sort of stop in his journey and to sort of think over things. He carries a copy of Herodotus with him on his travels, actually. The book opens with Kapuscinski's recounting of his discovery of Herodotus, which is a really beautiful story. Remembering that when he was in school, there was no reliable translation into Polish, which is his native language. He only discovers him later when he's given the book as an early gift in his career before he actually begins his travels. And on the first page of the book, he immediately finds a kindred spirit in Herodotus, one who is infected with that same wanderlust that he has. He's really in awe of the ancient historian, a man we actually know very little of, but whose inexhaustible curiosity about people and their mores and their history and their ideas obviously inspired him and reminded him much of himself. The interplay of the Herodotus and Kapuscinski shed a lot of light on one another in unexpectedly beautiful ways. He tells the stories of other ancient figures, Solon, Croesus, Darius, Xerxes, and many others. They're all retold and re-examined and mulled over and meditated upon in really beautiful ways. Points of continuity start to appear between Kapuscinski's travels and Herodotus's, each of which sing in tandem with one another. There seems to be some disagreement regarding the author's conscious mixture of reportage and literary writing, but I never got the sense that he was trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the reader, or that he was rewriting history. I found his writing less fictive than imaginative, After all, what historian claims to write without the aid of imagination? Anyway, I thought this was a great place to sort of dip in your feet and get the taste of his writing style, and it's just wonderful writing. I never really thought myself a fan of travel writing, but I have a few other books of Kapuscinski, and I plan to read them in the near future. Travels with Herodotus by Ryszard Kapuscinski.